Alrighty, so we do have one more games to finish off this match week with the lone Sunday game between Austin versus Portland Timbers that is about to play, and that obviously is a huge playoff six-pointer game because obviously the Western Conference playoff has really shifted in terms of what happened this match week. But today we'll mostly talk about Eastern Conference playoff picture and looking at all of these games that are happening in the Eastern Conference. As part one of this review, we'll look at the 8 games that happened, and we start off with the first one, which is derby between NYCFC versus the New York Red Bulls. Now, obviously, I have heard that a lot of people say that this is probably the worst rivalry game that they ever watched, which I can understand. I mean, it wasn't an entertaining game whatsoever, but I did say in the preview that I had a feeling that if you really want to see a good rivalry game, yeah, this one probably might not be the one. I mean, there's been some low-scoring Hudson River Derby game for the past couple of time, and there has been some that are kind of left lot to desire. Though I will say that watching this game, I would say that this actually isn't the worst rivalry game we've seen this season because people forget the Cascadia Derby earlier this season also existed, and yeah, that was pretty bad. I mean, at least in this game there were some chances, but I will say that was a game where it was kind of a microcosm of both teams and why exactly both teams find themselves in the position they're heading into this stretch run of the MLS regular season. Now, in the first half, Freeze was able to deny Manuel from close before Manuel pulls it just wide from close range. And yeah, there were some early chances for the Red Bulls. It was a promising start from them. They were looking to try to get the opening goal. Token would then hits one straight to Freeze. And then 30 minutes in, NYCFC have still yet to register a shot. I mean, it was kind of crazy to see how the Red Bulls were dominating this game. I mean, I would say crazy, but the Red Bulls always tends to play well against NYCFC. Well, except when they, of course, at least in the last couple of meeting at Yankee Stadium, it's been mostly in favor of NYCFC, but they definitely look competitive early in this one. In the 45th minute, Manuel puts it just high from close range. I mean, Alias Manuel, he had a lot of chances in this one. Could have easily give the Red Bulls a 1-0 lead. And at the end of the first half, NYCFC failed to register a single shot in the first half, which, it feels like this has happened already this season before because, again, the attack for this team at times are just kind of unwatchable. And it was definitely the case in the first half. But they woke up in the second half because in the second half, they finally get their first shot in the 56th minute, and they actually saw Reyes block Rodriguez shot there to prevent NYCFC of scoring their first shot of the game. And then Morales would pulls it wide off of a deflection, and really, that first shot of the game, it rejuvenizes NYCFC most. Thinking that yeah, they can shoot the ball. Like you're allowed to shoot the ball in a game of soccer when it feels like maybe they forgot that of course is the case in the first half. Though Fernandez did close it wide from close in the 71st minute. I mean, I thought that one in. I mean, with the way that Omer Fernandez has just been such a killer for NYCFC, it's been just scoring so many big goals in this rivalry alone. I thought that was going to be another moment, though. That doesn't compare to what we saw in the 75th minute when he was robbed by Freeze on a point blank effort there. And then in the 82nd minute, Fernandez would hit it right to Cornell, and this is Julian Fernandez. That is, I've got to the fact that there was two Fernandez in this game. But yeah, the game definitely started to finally open up. There was definitely chances. You can see that this is where the desperation started to come. Like both of these teams, they need to win this one if they want to spark a late charge into the playoffs this season. Martinez then heads it straight to Cornell in the third minute of stoppage time, and in the end, we don't get a win from either of these New York teams as it ends in a stalemate 0-0 draw in this Hudson River Derby. The shots in this one, 11 shots committed, 9 that NYCFC had. 3 shots on goal for the 2 that NYCFC had. 3 shots off target for the 5 that the Red Bulls had. 4 shots that was blocked for the 3 that the Red Bulls had. And possession-wise, 58% possession compared to the 42% possession the Red Bulls has in this game. So, yeah, obviously, I think when you look at how this game when I feel like it kind of played out what everybody thought it's going to be, which that doesn't always happen in an MLS game. But yeah, again, this game just is summary of the microcosm of the problem that both of these teams has. They just simply won't have enough on the attacking end, and it seems like after this game, it's pretty much set stone that unless if one of these teams can finally find a spark late in the season, we could see two New York teams missing out on the playoffs, and that would be the first time we ever see two New York teams missing out. I mean, it feels like every season we always seem to have a very interesting situation where one region don't have any MLS team in the playoffs. Last year was the Cascadia region where no Cascadia team made it to the playoffs, and then previous year I think no Texas team and California team made it to the playoffs, and it feels like this season we could be heading to the first season ever where no New York team actually made it to the playoffs this season. But that being said, moving on in the next match, Atlanta. So obviously, coming into this game, we knew that it was going to be a jam-packed crowd. There was 70,000 plus in hand for this one, and I'm pretty sure some of them, if not most of them, were hoping to see the greatest player of all time. Now, obviously, that didn't happen. It was announced a day ago that Messi did not make the trip to Atlanta for this game. So yeah, that's got to be disappointing for all those fans that were there to get a glimpse of the greatest player of all time. But they were not disappointed by the result of this game. I mean, at least for most of them, that is because wow, this was definitely a statement win for Atlanta United. And I think after this, it is very hard to not say that Atlanta is back. And again, that's probably something that Atlanta fans have been wanted to say, but they kind of don't want to say because every time they said it, things go bad for this Atlanta team. Now, in the first half, Farias would puts it wide from close before Mascara would puts it wide from long range. I thought there was a couple of half chances from both of these teams, but it's actually Atlanta that gets the opening goal. It's Campana that scored here to make it 1-0 in favor of Inter Miami. And yeah, Campana, he absolutely just stole Robinson. So, I mean, that was a filthy kind of touch here to basically puts it over Robinson and then slots that one home. I mean, yeah, that's definitely not a moment that Miles Robinson would want to look back whatsoever. So yeah, that made it 1-0 in favor of Miami, and you're thinking, well, here we go again. It looked like Miami is en route to get another win. Nope. In the 36th minute, Muyumba would score to tie the game up at one apiece, and it's not a big game without controversy because yeah, there's the question of the fact that did this ball actually cross the line. I mean, Calendar did trying to save that one off the line, but the referee and VAR says that ball crossed the line. And again, because of the fact that MLS don't have goal line technology, it is really hard to see, even with the angle that they provided. And I think in the end they do get it right. The fact that I don't think there was definitive evidence to overturn that, but yeah. That tied the game up at one apiece, and also that wouldn't be the only controversial call that we had in this game. We have another one later in this one. Though in the 41st minute, Atlanta would take the lead, and they can thank Kamal Miller for this because Kamal Miller, he was trying to block the shot, but instead he didn't do a good job of it. It parried back toward his own net, and it goes into the back net. So it's an own goal for Kamal Miller. It's 2-1 in favor of Atlanta, and then 3 minutes later, it was 3-1 in favor of Atlanta. It's Brooks Lennon scoring from Caleb Wiley to make it 3-1 in favor of Atlanta, and in a blink of an eye, in just 8 minutes, Atlanta has completely turned this game on its head. Like, I mean, the script has completely flipped to a point where when you just thought that Miami was going to be in hand for another victory, Atlanta United just blitzed them in a span of 8 minutes, and they now find themselves leading 3-1 heading into the second half. But if there's one thing you know about Inter Miami this season is that even when you have a lead against them, yeah, it's not safe whatsoever. And you knew that Miami was going to try to make this game interesting, and they did. In the 52nd minute, a penalty was given to them after Abrams handballed that one in the box, which Campana steps up to take the penalty, and he slots that one home to make it 3-2 in this one. And you're just thinking, well, here we go. Looks like the script is happening again, where Miami is probably going to get that equalizer, and they're in for another steal of a win, even if they don't have Messi in company in this one. By the way, besides Messi not playing this game, Jordi Alba also did not play in this game, and I think that was huge too. You can definitely see there was some I mean, as big of a miss Messi is, I don't think a lot of people talk about how big of a miss Jordi Alba is, especially providing that defensive reinforcement because Miami at time in this game was all over the place at the back. Then the things kind of started to get heated because it's a big game. It's for people that don't know, this is kind of maybe started to develop to be a rivalry. I mean, I know Orlando fans don't want to hear it, but it seems like things there could be a spark in terms of these two southeastern club, and again it got really heated after when Guzan basically hold on to the ball after Campana slots it home. He refused to give the ball, trying to waste time. And yeah, anytime when you do that, you're going to cause a bit of a scuffle. There was a huge shout for a penalty for Atlanta not given. There was more pushing and shoving again after a foul because again, both of these teams they were at a boiling point, and I also thought that there was that point where someone was going to get a red card in this one because of how hot and heated this was. It was a matter of time because before someone do something really stupid to a point where you get yourself a red card. Though that being said, they also said that Atlanta has scored 33 goals in the second half, which is the most in MLS, and they've also mentioned they've scored 16 in the last 15 minutes. That is not a big surprise because I've always mentioned if there's one thing about Atlanta United games is that you cannot leave the watching their game early. Like there's gonna be some crazy stuff that will happen in Atlanta United game, and there was that point where it feels like every single Atlanta United game either ends up with them scoring a late equalizer or late winner, or it's the opposite team that does the same thing. Though in the 60th minute, Kamaski did pulls it high from close before there was another shout for a penalty for Atlanta not given in the 62nd minute. Yakimakis with hits one into the side netting, but he would not miss in the 76th minute as he scored here from Saba to make it 4-2 in favor of Atlanta United. I thought Saba had a huge impact to this team when he came off the bench, but so was Yakimakis, now scoring 14 goals for Atlanta United, tied with the Golden Boot race right now with Hani Mukhtar. Campana then looked for a response, trying to score a hat trick, but he hits it right to Guzan. There was a standing ovation when Joseph Martinez made his return to Mercedes-Benz Stadium. I mean, again, it's probably a bit of a bittersweet return because I don't think you would have thought that a couple of years ago or even last year that as much as Joseph Martinez was on potentially on his way out for Atlanta United, you didn't think he was going to come back in an Inter Miami jersey and come back to a rival. But yeah, there definitely some bittersweet moment there for that crowd at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Though in the 85th minute, Stefanelli did puts it wide from close, and again Miami just trying to get that third goal, trying to make things interesting. Amada then hits one right to counter. I thought the game just continued to be wide open, which normally I say that doesn't favor the winning team, but that's kind of the style that Atlanta United likes to play, so you could say that it kind of favors them. Though in the 89th minute, Atlanta makes sure that this is indeed the first ever loss for Inter Miami under the Messier because Tyler Wolff called game. He scored here from Saba to make it 5-2 in favor of Atlanta United. That came off of a terrible turnover from Inter Miami. Again, it just feels like they really missed Jordi Alba in this game and his presence because of these bad mistakes that you don't see Miami has been making doing this great run that they've been in. But yeah, that unbeaten run comes to an end in this one as again for the first time in the Lionel Messi era with Inter Miami. Uh, they lose a game though. Again, at least Miami fans will still say that they still have not lost a game when Messi is in the starting 11 or in the 18 in this one, and that of course is true. But yeah, this is the first loss that we've seen this Miami team suffer in a long time. As Atlanta with a statement 5-2 win. Shots in this one, 16 shots for the 10 that Miami has, 3 shots on York for the 6 that Atlanta has, 6 shots off target for the 4 that Miami has, 3 shots off block for the 4 that Atlanta has, and possession-wise, 51% possession compared to the 49% possession that Atlanta has. And again, it is very hard for Atlanta fans to refuse to say that they are truly laid back, but what I will say is that they definitely blocked out the noise. Like there was a lot of noise talk about how, well, is this going to be a distraction that Messi is not going to be there and so forth? Is that going to affect Atlanta United? Nope. They gone to out their business playing basically kind of showing Tata Martino that yeah, this is what you've been missing ever since you left us a couple of years ago, and that yeah, again, just a big statement win for Atlanta United, and this is kind of what Atlanta would look like as we get into the playoffs. Watch out, maybe this team can definitely make some noise in the playoffs, but that's just a big if because it feels like we've seen this happen before where they have a big win like this season and then they follow the next game with an absolute dud and reminds you that yeah, Atlanta United is not truly back from their best from what we saw when they came into the league. But that being said, moving on in the next match is Charlotte and DC United. So the good news for Miami is that despite they did lose their game. They didn't make up any ground. They didn't really lose too much ground because the teams that is currently near the playoff line and in the bubble, they didn't really capitalize on the fact that Miami lost their game and they can be 3 points away from them. And it started this one between Charlotte and DC getting a 0-0 draw. In fact, the next two games I'm going to talk about are literally teams that are in around the bubble of the playoff line, and both of those games actually end up into a 0-0 draw despite being a big playoff 6 pointer. In the first half, Click would miss an absolute sitter from close range. I mean that just sums up the season for Mateus Click. There's been times he has a good game, and then there's times where he has a dud like that. Bender then hits the side netting after there was a scramble in the DC box. Kalina then denied Fajardo coming from a Route 1 ball. Both teams was getting some good early chances. Again, there were some big 3 points that need to be play in this one, and you can see both of these teams were hungry to try to get it early. Kalina denied Click from close range before there was a shot that was deflected and struck the post. Oh, I forgot who was there because it kind of when I put the board, I accidentally dropped it, so that there's a little bit of race there. But yeah, and again, after a frantic first 10 minutes, the game started to kind of die down a little bit. I mean, you kind of had a sense with the way that how fast paced the first 8 minutes is. It was not gonna last. Though Benteke did hit one right to Kalina. The possession was 61 to 39 in favor of Charlotte, but despite that, DC they really haven't created much clear cut chances, despite the fact, or actually not DC, I'm sorry, Charlotte, the one that have not created some decent chances despite dominating the possession, and we do head to halftime scoreless between both of these teams. Now in the second half, Fajardo would then pose it wide in the near post before the post would deny Benteke from close range. So again, the post was definitely not friendly for both of these teams in this game. These last two chances, again, I also wrote came off of a turnover from Charlotte, which they are very fortunate that they were not being punished, because when you turn the ball over that many times, you're eventually going to get punished with one of them. Kalina then denied Benteke from close range, and I feel like DC has a grip in this game. They were pressing to try to get the opener, though Miram almost scored against the run of play as he hits that one wide in the 67th minute. Benteke then hits it right to Kalina in the 85th before Knels also hits it right to Kalina. And really, as the time winds down, you can see both of these teams, they were pushing hard to trying to get that crucial show 3 points to help boost their playoff chance, or at least in DC case trying to stay above the red line, but it doesn't do it, because in the end it ends in a 0-0 draw. Shots in this one, 14 shots apiece, 6 shots on goal for the 2 that Charlotte has, 4 shots off target for the 5 that DC had, 8 shots that was blocked for the 3 that DC had, and possession wise 62% possession compared to 38% possession for DC has in this game. And again, a big missed opportunity for both of these teams to either extend their lead in terms of staying away from the red line, or in Charlotte cases, a big opportunity to miss opportunity to trying to get themselves higher in the standings and get closer into the playoff line. But the good news is, in the other playoff 6 pointer I mentioned between Montreal uh, excuse me there. And the other playoff 6 pointer between Montreal and Chicago. That game also ended in a 0-0 draw in this one. And I just had a feeling that, as I mentioned before in the preview, that, with these games that has big playoff 6 pointer, you can clearly see games are going to be tight, and it's not going to be high scoring and it's just free flow like we see maybe in the early part of the season. Though I say that, and then we'll get to the next game of how that pretty much fall all out of the window. But yeah, in this one, just like this game, I thought there was chances for both of these teams, especially for Montreal in this one, because in the first half it was pretty much all Montreal in this game. Brugge odds would hits the side netting after just 45 seconds before Saliba would pulls it wide from close. Montreal was on the front foot. They were pressing for the opener. Brady would then deny Opoku on a free header before Campbell would head it onto the post in the 23rd minute. And then Vesine would miss it wide as he was in on goal. Again, it was all Montreal. The problem is they just couldn't finish. Like, if they could find any clinical finishing, they probably would have been 1-0 or even 2-0 up in this one. Opoku then missed it wide in the near post, and 30 minutes in, Montreal, or they continue to dominate the game. And again, actually, I wrote this wrong. It's actually Chicago have still yet to register a shot there, not Montreal. But yeah, Montreal has registered a lot of shots up to this point, but Chicago has yet to register a shot 30 minutes in. They finally do so in the 45th minute as Jimenez puts one right to Siwas in the 45th minute. And then we do head to halftime with this game tied up at 0-0. Now heading into the second half, whatever Frank Copa said to the Chicago Fire team, it definitely fired up this team because they look much better heading into the second half. Suke would hit one right to see Wasp before Kamara would also do the same thing. Again, Chicago finally getting themselves into this game. They were creating some decent half chances. Herbert then puts it wide from close before Gutierrez would heads it wide from close range. Again, it feels like almost like a game of two halves, where with Montreal being the more dominant side in the beginning, it looks like now it's Chicago, the one that are being the more dominant side, look to try to get the opening goal. 0-4 just missed the cross that was delivered in the back post from Bryce Duke. Jimenez then hits one right to Siwas in the 87th minute, and I feel like this big 3 points, like this game, it was up for grabs. Like both of these teams were pushing to try to get that 3 points to either help their playoff chances or keep themselves above the red line. Brady would then deny 0-4 on a free header there. There was a couple free header in this one that neither of these teams could prevent it. And then Brady would deny Duke as he was falling down and making the punch. Like he basically fell down making the punch, and he didn't really do a good job in terms of punching that way. It actually fell right to Bryce Duke, but Brady makes up for it with a save there, and then he robbed Lassiter from point blank effort. I mean that looked like it was it. That was the moment for Montreal to hit all 3 points in this one, but Chris Brady says no. He robbed him there and make sure this game stay 0-0, and it does stay 0-0 after the full time whistle. So yeah, another game, a big playoff 6 pointer ends in a 0-0 draw where again, when you look at the standings in the East, it's still pretty much the same in terms of the playoff bubble. And again, Miami, I know their fans will be frustrated they lost for the first time in a while, but they'll probably be happy the fact that teams around them and these big playoff 6 pointer games and then in a no draw. Like in some way, I'm pretty sure when they watch these games, that is Miami fans. That is, they're just hoping that it ends in a no draw. Like when you have a situation where you have two teams that a win from either of these teams will not help your cases, you just hope for a draw, and that's exactly what they got with both of these games ending in a draw. Now the shots in this one, 19 shots compared to 11 that Chicago has. Both teams had 4 shots on goal, 10 shots off target for the 4 that the Fire has, 3 shots that was blocked for the 5 that Montreal has, and possession-wise, 52% possession compared to 48% possession that Chicago has. And again, for the Fire, yes, that kind of stopped the bleeding a little bit with them on a long losing streak lately. Well, I wouldn't say long, but definitely in a losing streak to a point where it's very Chicago Fire brand, where this is the time when they start to collapse and miss out on the playoffs. But they still don't get a win in this one. They're still below the red line. And for Montreal, again, these are the games. They cannot afford to draw points at home. We know this is not a good team on the road. If you draw points at home, it's going to come back to haunt you. And I wonder will this game could come back to haunt Montreal because of the fact that they're not a very good road team. With that being said, I am now going to switch boards and look at the last 4 games as part of part number 1 of this review of match week number 32. Alrighty, so now let's get to the craziest game of this match week, and it feels like in this game between Orlando and Columbus, both narrative kind of played out in this game. Orlando City, they are always known as the Cardiac Cats because they always somehow, some way find a late equalizer or a late winner to get the winning goal. Like we saw in this game, and then we also saw Columbus, where last year Columbus how they were blowing games left and right. Oh yeah, it happened in this one too. And I think out of all those blown leads that they've suffered last season, this one is definitely going to be right up there to probably be the most painful one. Considered they were 3-1 up in this game, and they looked like they were going to get a big statement win in this game against Orlando. Now, early on, Galese would deny Rossi in the near post before he would deny Yoboa from close. I thought it was a good start from Columbus, and really Columbus, they played a very good game in this one. Problem is like I said, they basically went back to Caleb Porter mode and just self-destruct late in this one. The first shot for Orlando did see Santos pulls it just wide in the 11th minute, but then in the 16th minute, after all the pressure that Columbus has, they scored. It's Gresso scoring here from Cucho to make it 1-0 in favor of Columbus. I believe that's the first goal that Julian Gresso has scored for his new club. I'm not quite sure on that. But Yoboa did puts it wide from close in the 19th minute before Enrique would hits one right to Schulte. And I thought Orlando started to get back into this. I mean, it was a slow start for the Lions in this one, but they started to get back into this game with some possession. Though Galese did deny Yoboa, but it recycled to Cucho, who was also denied by Galese. I'll tell you what, Yao Yoboa, well, he was very active in this on the attack, and so was Rossi too. As Galese was able to deny him there in the 43rd minute, and once again, Columbus they were ramping up the pressure. They were looking to try to make it 2-0. Though on the other end, Ojeda would puts it high from close in the 43rd minute, and we do head to halftime with Columbus leading 1-0, despite the fact that Columbus were definitely the better team. And one thing we said before, when you only are up 1-0 and you don't score maybe multiple goals, when you're the better team, it can come back to haunt you, and it did quickly in the second half because just 3 minutes in, Orlando ties it up. It's Ojeda scoring from Angulo to tie the game up at one apiece. Rossi did try to respond, but he puts it high from close range, and I thought the crew did a good job responding because they could easily just rattle and just collapse after giving up the equalizing goal. And that at that time, at least in this game, they didn't look like they were panicking. They looked like they're trying to get themselves back in this game, trying to get the lead back. And they do. In the 56th minute, Diego Rossi, he scored from Yoboa to give Columbus the lead back. Torres did look for the response, but right to Schulte. The shots were 14-11 for Columbus. So again, one thing I mentioned about this game is that I expect it should be a very entertaining game, and it could be a high scoring game too, because both of these teams has been kind of free scoring the last couple of games, and judging by how the score line and how the game so far has played out, it definitely did not disappoint. And what also did not disappoint is Columbus getting a third goal, and who else but Cucho Hernandez? He scored from Matan here to make it 3-1 in favor of Columbus, because Cucho is going to get on the score sheet. He's been red hot lately. And for those that are thinking, well, are they going to be missing the presence of Lucas Zarian and can Cucho stepped up? Yeah, Cucho is definitely stepping up in a big way for this Columbus team. Torres then looked to respond again, but he hits one onto the roof of the net, which kind of sums up Orlando night. They just haven't been clinical enough. Though that being said, in the 73rd minute, Facu Torres would eventually get one back. He scored from Ojeda to make it 3-2 in favor of Columbus. Torres then looked to try to tie it, but he hits it right to Schulte. But then in the 86th minute, Enrique scored. He scored here to make it 3-3 in this one, and it was poor set piece defending from the crew. That would be a big story in this game too, where they just did not deal with it well enough. And Enrique said, "Thank you very much." He ties the game up at 3 apiece, and you just kind of had a sense that if you're a Columbus fan, it's here we go again, because this is the literally like what we saw last season a lot. And there's been times this season, even under Wilfred Nancy, they have kind of gone back to the old narrative of them choking leads and just hit the self-destruct button, and it feels like it's happening again. Galese would then deny Zawadzki in the near post, and then in the 7 minute of stoppage time, depending on how you look, if you're an Orlando fan, it's come back complete. But if you're a Columbus fan, the meltdown basically was confirmed, as Enrique would score again, this time from Torres to make it 4-3 in favor of Orlando City. The Cardiac Cats have struck again, but also one that, again, I talk about Columbus just kind of self-destructing. Some of these goals that they conceded should not be goals that they should be conceding. I mean, Schulte, up to this point, he had a good game, but oh man, this was an absolute howler from him. Like, he came off his lines trying to punch the ball away, did not get to it, and when you are a goalkeeper and you don't get to the ball first on the punch, you are basically in no man's land. Like, the ball was bouncing dangerously in the 18-yard box. The crew don't clear their lines, and Enrique says, "Oh, look what I found." And he puts it into the back end again, and yeah, Orlando they come from behind in this one, and despite 3-1 down in this one, come from behind to get a big 4-3 wins against the Columbus Crew. The shots in this one, 14 shots for the 15 that Columbus had, 10 shots on goal for the 7 that Orlando City has, 5 shots off target for the 4 that the Crew has, 1 shot that was blocked for the 2 that Orlando City has, and possession-wise, 52% possession compared to 48% possession that Orlando has had. By the way, I think from a week from now, Orlando is going to be playing Miami. That is definitely going to be a must watch game to see. Probably maybe going to be one of the best game of the season because Orlando has not forgotten about what happened in the Leeds Cup and they want some revenge in this game and with how hot that they've been against a Lionel Messi Miami team. Oh boy, that's going to be a very mouth-watering kind of matchup that I can't wait to see. But for Columbus, again, they have been by far, I would say, the most entertaining team to watch. Like, if you're a neutral, you would absolutely love to see how Columbus have played. But just because you're the most entertaining team doesn't mean you are always going to be a team that are the strongest. I mean, I mentioned before when Mateus Almeida was in charge of the Quakes, those Quakes team were some of the most entertaining team to watch. If you're a neutral, Quakes games are basically non-stop action, and it's one that you absolutely need to tune in. But as a fan of the team, I wasn't liking it because of how much of a roller coaster it is. I feel like Columbus Crew fans are starting feeling that too. I mean, as much as they have loved what Wilfred Nancy has done to the attack, has made them a very entertaining team. At the same time, the weaknesses and the defense. I mean, defending has been a problem this season for Columbus, and it's not a big surprise because the system that Wilfred Nancy plays, the fact that he push man's forward, you're going to leave some defensive gaps, which is why I think if they do run into a team that is good on the transitional play, Columbus could be in big trouble because of the style that they play. And let's also not to mention about their role form too. I mean, it's just ridiculous to see how this team has been so good this season at home, and yet on the road they just haven't been able to replicate. Though I will say in the last two games they kind of have replicated a little bit of it, but yeah, again it was all for naught because that old narrative has happened, and it feels like the ghost of Caleb Porter was still there for the Columbus Crew, blowing leads in a spectacular fashion, and that's exactly what they did in this one. So that being said, moving on in the next match is Philly and Cincinnati, and please give me this game in the playoffs because honestly, I mean this is a game that I think if this does happen once again in the playoffs, I'm definitely going to be glued to my seat in terms of watching this because this game kind of played out what I expected it to be. Like it was a very high intensity game. It had that playoff kind of feeling, and it also most importantly has that smash mouth kind of feeling where you knew that both of these teams likes to play physical. And that you know both of these teams are not going to shy away from a challenge or two, and that was kind of the case. I mean, in fact, it was so physical the fact that we almost broke the record in terms of the most yellow cards that we've seen in a single match. Now, early on, the first shot of the game did see Vasquez puts it right to Blake, as I thought since he was on the front foot, they were dictating the plays early. That wouldn't last though. In the first half, though, the shots were only 1-0 through 15 minutes, and again, it just feels like a playoff game. It feels very tight. It feels like both of these teams were just kind of feeling each other out early, not taking too much risk. There was then a check to see if Miazga did shove on Gastek is worth a red, which VAR says no. I think that's the right call. Miazga did get a yellow for that. I mean, understandable because you can't just shove a player like that. Though I will say the fact that what could have maybe got Miazga a red card is when he decided to tail Gastek to get up. I mean, yeah, that's again, I understand that he's probably not happy that Gastek kind of flopped there trying to dive to maybe set Miazga off, but yeah, that was just no need whatsoever. But again, that just shows you the rivalry of this game. Like I think after this game, we talk about how MLS are trying to manufacture rivalries that are not geographical, and although some that can be a bad thing. Sometimes it could be a good thing because of how entertaining this game turns out to be. And like I said, it's been a very physical game, which is expected because both of these teams play similar style of play, and it kind of makes sense with the way that the guy that's coaching Cincinnati literally come from the Philadelphia Union tree and come from the system that Jim Kern basically taught him to use. So in the 23rd minute, we did get the opening goal of this game. And how about Jose Martinez? Again, I think from now on, it's pretty clear that you have to close down Jose Martinez when he's trying to shoot from long range because it feels like ever since he scored his first goal of the season, he's been firing away like he can score that every single time. And he scored here again, this time from McGlynn to make it 1-0 in favor of the Union. And again, Cincinnati, they just didn't close him down. Like it's getting to a point where you have to close down Jose Martinez because if you don't close him down, he's gonna shoot and he's gonna have games where he's gonna actually shoot and find the target and even in some cases find the back of the net. The Union again, they mentioned have been unbeaten 22 consecutive game leading first, and in the 34th minute they had a chance to continue that streak when they were giving a penalty after Sayatano came off his line. He brought down Gastak in the box, which is a penalty. So Gastak wins the penalty. He steps up. He's not gonna miss a penalty. In fact, he hasn't missed a penalty ever since he came into the league, and he doesn't miss here. He continued that streak. He slots that one home to make it 2-0 in favor of the Union. Salatano then denied Gastak from close range, and the Union, they smell blood. Like they were pressing to try to get a third goal here, and I thought this could be ugly for Cincinnati, just like what we saw earlier this season when they play against St. Louis in a big game, and they just got blown apart by St. Louis in that one. There was a scramble in the box, which was blocked off the line there by Moreno. So yeah, again, almost a chance to make it 3-0 in favor of the Union. But we do head to halftime with the Union leading 2-0, and in the second half, this is where the script started to flip because again, whatever Pat Nolan said to this team, it definitely worked because coming out of the break, just 4 minutes in, Bupenza coming off the bench in this game, he scored from Kubo to make it 2-1 in favor of the Union. So again, Bupenza making an instant impact. And then he almost tied the game, literally just 1 minute later, only for the flag to disallow his goal there. But there was no doubt Cincinnati was coming into the second half to play. Like they were not just gonna lie down. They basically showing the world that yeah, there's a reason why they're leading the supporter shield standing right now. And that I also thought the Union, not only they looked flat coming into the second half, but it felt like they were still in the locker room. Like it felt like they just haven't got going whatsoever. Blake would then deny Wobodo in the near post. But I thought eventually the Union did survive that early Cincinnati storm that Cincy was putting on them early in the second half, though Cincinnati did still had some chances. Bupenza would heads it high from close range. And then in the 76th minute, they made those chances paid off as Vasquez would score from Bupenza to tie the game up at 2 apiece. So yeah, that's got to be great news for Cincinnati fans seeing Vasquez on the score sheet. I mean, I know this his number has been down this season, but I still think that he's been performing very well. And then Bupenza, of course, making an instant impact coming off the bench for a goal and an assist. And then Baji looked to make it 3-2 in favor of Cincinnati. He puts it wide from close range. The momentum was clearly with Cincinnati. They were pressing to try to get a third goal. They weren't just be satisfied of getting a 2-2 draw out of Subaru Park in this one. So that their kind of effort was definitely damper in the 81st minute as Mosquera would get his second yellow card of the game. That was the 11th yellow card that was handed out. Again, you just feel like with just so many yellow cards that's been handed out because it's been a physical game, somebody was going to get a second yellow, and Mosquera was that. And then later, we saw another sending off. This time, another second yellow sending off, and it's Jack Elliott, the one that gets a second yellow card off the game. That brings the total to 12 yellow cards, and they mentioned the record is 13, and unfortunately, we didn't hit that mark in terms of yellow cards. But yeah, it just kind of shows you that yeah, there was a lot of physical play. There was a lot of things that was going on. That yeah, yellow cards were kind of flying left and right like Oprah, basically talking the ground. You get a yellow card. You get a yellow card. Everybody gets a yellow card to a point where we eventually have players getting sent off because they got a second yellow. So yeah, in the end, it does end in a 2-2 draw. The shots in this one, 15 shots compared to 14 that Cincinnati has. Both team had 6 shots on goal. Both team had 4 shots off target. 5 shots that was blocked compared to 4 that Cincinnati has. And possession-wise, 57% possession compared to 43% possession the Union has in this game. Give me more of this game. Give me this game in the playoffs. I want to see more of this one. I want to see more of Philly versus Cincinnati because again, it's just so entertaining to watch with the smash mouth kind of style. And that when you have two head coaches that have come from the same tree and play that similar style, it makes it very entertaining thing to see. And this game definitely doesn't disappoint. And that I really hope we're going to get another playoff matchup just like what we saw last season. With that being said, moving on in the next match, Vancouver. So at one point, Vancouver was actually second in the Western Conference, which that just shows you how crazy this season has been in the Western Conference. Where who would have thought that Vancouver would be the one that could be in second in the West? And definitely, if you would have told that to a Whitecaps fan coming into this 7-game road trip, they would think that you're absolutely insane. But I mean, Benny Sartini, again, this is the thing. His magic is once again started to happen just like what we saw near the end of 2021 season. as now it's fourth straight road win for this Vancouver Whitecaps team as they come from behind in this game against Toronto. Now, early on, Benedeski with the first shot of the game on the free kick, but he missed high there. Despite Toronto dominating the possession, not much really happened as the shots were only 1-0 through 25 minutes. Takaoka would then deny Insigne from close before Romero would deny White from close. Romero would then deny Raposo after just a poor giveaway in their own half from TFC. That's kind of a thing that has happened a lot and just kind of sums up Toronto's season. But there was no doubt that Vancouver has got themselves in this game. And in fact, the scoreline I think was a lot closer, and the fact that Vancouver kind of had to come back from this game not only just shows you the mentality of this team and just that they've been in red hot form, but the fact that they kind of made it a little bit hard on themselves with the way that they had some big opportunity early. Though Benedeski did sting a free kick that was denied by Takaoka before Larea would hit one right to Romero. Remember Richie Larea? He's now playing with the Vancouver Whitecaps. Again, it feels weird, but all the time with TFC, if he would have scored that one, what was he gonna do? I'm probably thinking that he's not gonna celebrate against the team that basically gave him the first chances coming out. I mean, he was part of the TFC Academy and been playing for this Toronto team for a long time. So I'm assuming he's probably not going to be celebrating against his former team, right? But yeah, we do head to halftime scoreless in the second half. Romero then denied Raposo with a full stretch save, but then in the 50th minute, DeAndre Kerr would score from Insigne to make it 1-0 in favor of TFC, and this was TFC giving Vancouver a taste of their own medicine. We know that Vancouver is a good transitional team. We didn't know that Toronto was also a good transitional team because they absolutely hit the counter attack there, completely catching the Whitecaps off guard. And yeah, that of course gave TFC a 1-0 lead. The lead only lasted 6 minutes because in the 56th minute, Tristan Blackman would score from Ryan Gaul to make it 1-1 in this one. Just some poor set piece defending there from Toronto. Again, this defense has been just so bad this season, and this was another example of it. And then the post would deny Raposo from close range. I mean, Ryan Raposo, he must feel snake bitten in this game because he had a lot of chances in this one, and I think after that, you can even tell his reaction. Like he just thinking, what does he had to do to score a goal in this game? But what's gonna happen is that momentum was all with Vancouver. They were looking to press for the lead, and they get it. And they get it in the dynamic duel that is the reason why Vancouver has been red hot. It's Brian White scoring from Ryan Goal. We've been hearing this all the time, and it happened again in this game too. And yeah, that gives the lead for Vancouver, but also that is a credit to some zero or non-existent defending there from TFC. I mean, the fact that Brian White find himself wide open in the box with a free header, that is just criminal defending there on Toronto's part. Uh, and then White was in on goal again. He was looking to try to get his second and the third for Vancouver, but he was denied by Romero. I mean, Romero, I know he gave up two in this one, and both of those goals, I can't fault him for either of these goals, but he kind of is the reason why that this was at least as close as it should have been. I mean, Vancouver could have easily won this one more comfortable. And then he would deny Ahmed from close in the 89th minute. Vancouver was pressing for a third to kill this game off. They don't get it, but they do get the 3 points in this one, a 2-1 win against Toronto. And the shots in this one, 17 shots compared to 10 that Toronto has, 8 shots on goal for the 3 that Toronto has. Both teams had 6 shots off target, 3 shots that was blocked for the 1 that TFC had, and possession-wise, 57% possession compared to the 43% possession that Vancouver has in this game. And like I said, Vancouver, I think right now they're, if I'm not mistaken, I think they're third right now in the Western Conference. You would have told me that was the case heading into the 7-game road trip. Nobody would have believed you. But this is the Vanni Sartini magic. It feels like we're seeing it in the latter part of the 2021 season, how Vanni Sartini found that magic to guide this Vancouver team into the playoffs. And not only the fact that this team will definitely make the playoffs with how hot that they've been, but watch out. Maybe this is a Whitecaps team that, if you want to talk about a sleeper team to pick in the West, which, there's a lot of sleeper team to pick in the West because of how I feel like this year it's still kind of unpredictable to see who exactly is going to be the favorites to reach all the way to MLS Cup. But if that is the case, then that kind of plays perfectly in terms of Vancouver's hand being a sleeper team. And don't be shocked if they do make some noises for the rest of the season and they get into the playoffs hot. Because if there's one thing we know about about playoffs is that if you get hot heading into the playoffs, you can basically beat anyone, even the best team in the league. That being said, moving on in the next match. So Houston versus St. Louis, and Houston was another team that at one point they were second in the Western Conference, and they probably would have been if they would have got the win. Well, at least before the El Trafico matchup has happened, but they don't get it. They let a late lead slip in this one against St. Louis, and really early on, St. Louis, I thought they were the better team. Leuven had a free kick that hits the wall and goes high before Crowd hits one right to Clark. I thought it was a promising start for St. Louis to try to get the opening goal. Leuven then hits one right to Clark again before he denied Jackson after just a poor giveaway from Houston. And again, Houston's got to watch out for those turnovers. That's exactly what St. Louis want you to do. They want you to play right into the press, and there were times that the Dynamo was playing right into the St. Louis press. But despite the fact that the Dynamo didn't really get a lot of chances, they were the one that gets the opening goal. It's Corey Bears, another guy that has been red hot in terms of the goal scoring form. He scored here from Bassi to give Houston a 1-0 lead, and that would be the score line heading into the second half. Now, in the second half, Leuven would then hit it high from close range before Quinones puts it wide from close. Kierskia then hits one high from long range before Bassi would hit one right to Berkey. And, Houston, they were looking to try to put this game away, trying to get that second goal. But what happened when you don't put the game away? It's going to come back to haunt you. And it haunt Houston in this one as in the 87th minute, it's Santa Claus. Joe Claus scoring here to tie the game up at one apiece because, of course, Santa Claus is back in town for St. Louis. I think this has to be a huge relief to see that Joe Claus is not only scoring goals again, but the fact that he's scoring goals coming back from an injury and look like he never skipped a beat. This is definitely great news for the St. Louis side and bad news for the opposite position. And now I also think that this creates a big or this creates a good problem for Bradley Carnell to have because on one hand you have a red hot striker named Nicholas Giacchini, and then on the other hand you just got João Klaus back, and now it seems like he's back in good form. So who do you choose in terms of starting up front? In that, I mean, he could also go with the two striker system, but I don't think he's gonna do that, and especially the style that an energy drink soccer style has played doesn't usually have like a two striker system. So that's a good problem for Bradley Carnell to have. Who do you choose? Klaus, who's been red hot, but same with Giacchini too. But yeah, in the end, it's a 1-1 draw on this one. The shots in this one fairly even. 12 shots committed, 11 that St. Louis had. 7 shots on goal committed, 3 that Houston had. 3 shots that was off target committed, 2 that St. Louis had. 2 shots that was blocked committed, 6 that Houston has. And possession-wise, 65% possession compared to 35% possession that St. Louis had. And again, for Houston, they had a big opportunity to be where Vancouver is right now, and they missed this opportunity. And again, this is a team that I do think that if they do kind of fancy themselves to go deep into the playoffs, they hope that they get at least one of the top 4 spot and get home field advantage because we know home field advantage is a big thing for Houston, and it always has been. And that I know this season they've definitely played much better on the road, but you can tell that they rather want to play at home, and they'll definitely get better of the odds in terms of winning in a knockout round at home compared to if they do have to go on the road in a playoff game. Well, there you have it. That is pretty much it. Looking at all 8 games that happens from or part number 1 of the review for match week number 32. Let me know in the comments below what do you think of these games, and tomorrow I of course will be looking at the last 6 games, which are mostly Western Conference game, including El Trafico. That I'll talk about what happened in that one, and also the game that's going to be happening a little later tonight between Austin and the Portland Timbers. But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.